in October of 2009 when I discovered that I would be traveling across Canada through the Katimavik program. And during that time, I had a lot of mixed emotions. I was feeling anxious on whether I should be really going onto that plane and traveling in the first place. And I had a lot of what ifs. What if this program is not going to be for me? What if the group that I'm with is an absolutely terrible group of people? I don't really know what I was going to be up against, and I had a lot of concerns. But all of that washed away when I traveled to BC. I woke up bright and early, really excited to be getting onto the plane and to be traveling and getting out of the house at long last. Because up to that point, I was stuck living in Fredericton, New Brunswick for a very long time with very little opportunity for me to actually travel and to go out into the world and discover it. And it's at that point that I realized that traveling was really for me, but also to take some bold steps. At the time, I didn't quite think about it, but now I realize that bold steps, such as those experiences, have really helped me out in developing myself. But as far as this program goes, I had a lot of anxiety around it and throughout it at the very beginning while I was traveling. Mainly because this was my first time in an airport, this was my first time on an airplane, and this was the first time where I was seriously on my own and that I could only rely on myself to get to where I needed to go. So when I finally got to my destination, I had a little bit of relief and I started to mingle with the other people. And even though I still had some reservations, I was still able to make a couple of connections with people and to really branch myself out there. But once we went our own separate ways after the orientation, things started to take a drastic turn. As far as my work goes in Williams Lake, I had the opportunity of working at the nature center. This was a job that not every other person was very keen about, but for me, I didn't really quite care that much about it. In fact, I didn't really like it all that much at the very beginning. Even though I didn't let that show in how I actually did my work, I still didn't really care that much about it. And until I realized where it was that I was actually at and what it is that I could actually do. I started to take the opportunity of going for walks and spending a lot of time with myself, figuring out all of my emotions. Unfortunately, that meant that I didn't really bond that well with my group. In fact, over the entire program, there was only a handful of people that I actually managed to bond well with and be able to talk about some of my emotions, or at least feel comfortable talking about my emotions with other people. It also helped me a lot that I had a leader who has been in this program for a very long time. She has gone through multiple groups and was working for 4 years in the Katimavik program. And it really helped her out a lot because she had a lot of experience. She has had a lot of discussions with other people and was able to guide me at the very least of how I can be improving myself and where I should be going in my life. She was one of the determining factors for me to push myself and get into a college that I would be attending after the program was over. I feel that she was one of the contributors to where I'm at right now with writing. Because at the time she recommended me to write whenever I was on my own or I needed some time to be thinking, or just to simply just write out my emotions, write out what I was feeling. And I did a little bit of that. Not a lot, but it was enough to get me going and to realize that writing actually helped me out a lot in dealing with my emotions. This really helped me out later on as I actually started to take writing more seriously and to develop my writing skills and to be talking more about my emotions. And in general, writing today is very therapeutic for me and is a necessary thing that I need to be doing on a regular basis, because it really helps me with my emotions and figuring out where I want to be going in my life. And that's kind of where writing helped out a little bit in that. But what helped me out the most was actually going for those walks, actually taking some of those scenic routes and really experiencing the outdoors, where I started to develop myself a little more and start to develop a couple of habits. And it's for this particular reason why I really enjoyed my experience in those 3 months, and why it felt like it was going by so quickly, and I felt very sad about what I went through that experience. But in the end, I learned a lot of valuable things. I learned a lot about myself that at the time I didn't quite realize, but looking back at those experiences now, I realized a lot, and a lot of it was the starting grounds of who I was becoming later on down the road.